Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
All right, let's go. Welcome to the machine, the nefarious machine. It's Tuesday. It's November 18th, 2025. This is Spathon bringing in another episode of The Swamp. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, he visited the White House today where he was greeted by President Trump and a flyover. We have a House vote on the release of the Epstein files, and every single House member vote, except one, voted yes to release, which equates to 99.7% of the vote. The bill now heads to the Senate. Republicans are passing around a damning email from Hakeem Jeffries' campaign team from 2013, where they requested a dinner between Hakeem and Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, this is years after Jeffrey Epstein became a registered sex offender. Secretary McMahon with the Department of Education, together with President Trump, have announced a plan. They are moving forward to dismantle the Federal Department of Education. Also, Nicki Minaj, she joined the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, at the U.S. mission today, where Nicki gave a speech concerning the Christian atrocities happening in Nigeria. The Trump administration announced they are mandating all 42 million SNAP beneficiaries to reapply for benefits in order to help weed out fraud and abuse. Today, a federal district court blocked the state of Texas from implementing the new redistricting map, which would provide a more fair playing field for Republicans in the state. And there's a lot more that happened today, so I'm just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed the daily updates, I do the Swamp Monday through Friday. I usually post at 11 p.m. Eastern at the latest. And if you leave a comment, I might just read it on the next episode. And every article you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. And also, if there's a government department or agency, office, official, or entity you notice that I haven't covered, let me know in the comments and I'll add it to the list. So real quick, on last night's episode, Ghost of Thor left an extensive comment on the Epstein scandal from last night's episode. He brings up some very valid points as to what's already been released and ongoing investigations involving other actors, which might hinder certain material from being released. Also, the raid of Epstein's properties by FBI Director Christopher Wray, and what might have happened with what they found or possibly destroyed, and more information relating to Epstein. It goes to show how little I know on the Epstein drama, and it's definitely a rabbit hole with no end in sight. But anyway, his comment, extremely detailed, very informative. So thank you very much, Ghost of Thor, for sharing the information. And again, that was on last night's episode in the comment section. All right, so I'm just going to dive straight in. The White House, President Donald J. Trump welcomes Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House. Let's start with the video. Oh my God, that's loud. Yeah, did you know they're buddy-buddy? Could you tell? Can you tell? Fancy-ass Mercedes. Is this a Saudi national anthem or something? I don't know. I haven't seen any of these, so just reacting as I go. I did hear about the flyover, though. Damn, somebody's drumming their ass off. Oh, I see J.D. Vance over there. Okay. And the flyover. 6 fighter jets. And the flag is at half-staff for some reason. I probably should know why. All right, well, that's a hell of an intro. Most world leaders don't get a freaking flyover. That's intense. Okay, Rapid Response 47. This was posted just 8 hours ago. President on Saudi Arabia's $1 trillion investment in the U.S. Saudi Arabia is investing $1 trillion into the U.S. Can you believe that? Quote, when you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, creates a lot of things. That's a real ally that will do that. It creates a lot of power for the United States.
You know, when you invest $1 trillion, That's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right, when you hear one country is putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, you know, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
Well, of course, it creates a lot of power for Saudi Arabia, too, because they're not just giving it to us for nothing. Obviously, they're going to get something out of it. From Taylor Rogers, and by the way, Taylor Rogers, she is the White House Assistant Press Secretary, and she says David shared a powerful story of how these historic foreign investments secured by President Trump are good deals for the American people that are improving lives and fueling new opportunities.
And I have a man, David Rommel.
Yes, sir.
David, could you say a few words about what you're seeing on the job front and all of the some of the assets, and also how we've been helped by the Saudis in terms of the kind of investment they've made, please.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a facility leader for GE Vernova, and if you look at the landscape for GE Vernova investment, over $750 million in the U.S. focused on true manufacturing jobs here stateside. We're looking at tripling the output of our Greenville, South Carolina facility, where we make the gas turbines that are supporting U.S. needs as well as the Saudi Arabia needs.
Right.
So real jobs, $300 million in gas investment, resulting in over 500 pieces of new equipment being installed in the Greenville, South Carolina facility.
As always.
That translates into roughly 1,800 jobs across the board for GE Vernova as we try to scale capacity to be able to meet this demand. Along with that, we're partnering with local communities to build the skill set that's required to meet these capacity needs. So that talent pipeline is incredibly important. So it's real jobs in the manufacturing space.
Real jobs. Always good news. Getting more jobs, especially because the October jobs report was abysmal from what I've heard. And of course, the government was shut down for over 40 days. So the actual jobs numbers are going to be kind of skewed as far as probably November. Actually, you know what? Now that I think of it, I think it was the jobs report for September, which was released in October. Something like that. Anyway, so Caroline Levitt, GE Vernova factory leader, highlights U.S. job creation from foreign investment during Trump MBS meeting. Of course, we already heard his words on it, but she has an article linked to Breitbart, which I'll put in the description if you want to check that out. I think we got the gist of what the article is going to detail. Okay, so Speaker Mike Johnson, Washington Democrats oversaw the Epstein files for 4 years. Yeah, they did. And they didn't release them. No, they didn't. They didn't push Biden's DOJ for action. They didn't lift a finger for the victims. So why now? Oh, because Stop Trump, evil Cheeto Orange Man bad, that's why. Because Democrats don't have a platform or a principle left to defend, so they've defaulted to one thing they know how to do: attack President Trump.
This should have been done in a much more careful manner, and it was not. And I'm going to point out again, when the authors were asked to fix it, they said they weren't interested in doing that. Okay, why? Because this is a raw and obvious political exercise. Again, I'm just going to leave you with this question. You should go ask them all. If you were so concerned about the Epstein files and protecting the victims, why didn't you do a darn thing about it for the 4 years of the Biden administration? All this stuff was sitting in a warehouse, and nobody said a word about it. They didn't care. Now they're doing it. We all know why. Because they're trying to attack President Trump. That's it.
And you know what? I'm going to bring up the bill summary that passed in the House so we can look at that real quick. And it is H.R. 4405, Epstein Files Transparency Act. And we have the summary here. So this bill, here, let me actually size it up a little bit. This bill requires the Department of Justice to publish in a searchable and downloadable format all classified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in DOJ's possession that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. This includes materials that relate to Ghislaine Maxwell, also flight logs and travel records, and number 3, individuals named or referenced, including government officials, in connection with the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ is permitted to withhold certain information, such as the personal information of victims and materials that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. Additionally, not later than 15 days after the required publication, the DOJ must report to Congress, number 1, all categories of information released and withheld, number 2, a summary of any redactions made, and number 3, a list of all government officials and politically exposed the individuals named or referenced in the published materials. So that's the summary as to what they voted on. One thing that I'm kind of worried about is this part here where they say materials that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. The DOJ is permitted to withhold those. Obviously, that makes sense. It just kind of begs the question, how many ongoing investigations do they have tied to Jeffrey Epstein? And are they at least going to tell us the names of those people who are being investigated? Not so sure. But I mean, it says here, part 3, individuals named or referenced in connection with an investigation. So I would assume we're at least going to get the names if the DOJ is investigating anything related to Jeffrey Epstein. So anyway, so that's what they voted on. It's heading to the Senate. And we're going to move to Chuck Schumer. Breaking, I just asked for unanimous consent to approve the Senate bill to release the Epstein files. There was no objection. All right. And House Democrats, Trump could release the files today if he wanted to. Actually, that's not true because it has to go to the Senate. Now, look, Trump may be in some limited capacity, or maybe because he is the president of the United States, he does have declassification powers. Maybe that's what he means, that he could just release everything. Although, it'd probably be better just to have Congress put it through. That way there's nothing tangled up or there's no questions about this, about that. Well, Trump didn't release everything. He only released just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So at least with it going through Congress, I'm assuming we're going to get everything this time. At least that's my assumption. Oh, dude, you were so quiet.
Lapdog. He says jump. They say how high. It's very clear that the Department of Justice acts as Donald Trump's lapdog. He says jump. They say how high. And they've done everything of his bidding. He could just tell the Attorney General to release the files, and she would do it. So the fact that he hasn't done that shows that he is just playing a game. He doesn't really want these files to be released.
No, obviously he and I have different perspectives as to what he meant by Trump could just release the files. He's just a low IQ moron. All right, House Democrats, one more. Republicans completely flip-flopped on the Epstein files. They knew they were going to lose, so they changed their tune. The American people deserve the truth. About 30 seconds. Why are these things so quiet?
Because they're going to lose this issue, and they weren't going to lose by a little. They were going to lose by a lot. And I think the president, clearly doesn't want to.
What do you mean they're going to lose by a lot, dude? 99.7% of members of Congress or in the House voted yes. Every single Republican, I think except for one. All of them, except one, voted to release the Epstein files.
As a lame duck or on the losing side of an issue with the Republican conference, and Republicans are probably tired of having to defend the pedophilia that Jeffrey Epstein stood for. And so I think it's clear that their only reason why they're doing this is because they were losing.
Well, based on everything that we've seen to date, at least in recent days and weeks, I haven't seen anything that looks in any way damning toward any Republicans whatsoever, but I sure as hell seen a few things that are pretty damning to Democrats, like the delegate from the Virgin Islands, how she was texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a committee hearing that she was sitting on, and Epstein was texting her questions to ask, who was it, Michael Cohen, I think, who was in the hot seat, talk about Jeffrey Epstein in the middle of the committee about Jeffrey Epstein. At least I think it was about Jeffrey Epstein. And then you've also got Hakeem Jeffries, which we're going to get to in a minute, with regard to his campaign trying to put together a dinner with Hakeem Jeffries. Did the dinner happen? I don't know. I guess I'm assuming that it may not have, or maybe it did, and we just haven't gotten that information yet. So there's at least a few pieces of information that make Democrats look pretty bad, but I still have yet to see anything with Republicans. Money that Republicans have taken. I'm not saying they never have. I'm sure some Republicans have taken money from Epstein at some point in history for their campaigns or whatever. But like dinners with Epstein or meetings with Epstein, anything like that, I really haven't heard a whole lot on that. If anything, I haven't heard anything, at least with Republicans. And if I'm wrong, leave a comment and let me know, and I'll look into it. Okay, so this is from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, from Donald J. Trump's Truth Social. I don't care when the Senate passes the House bill, whether tonight or at some other time in the near future. I just don't want Republicans to take their eyes off all the victories that we've had, including the great big beautiful bill, closed borders, no men and women's sports or transgenders for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest tax and regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, having trillions of dollars invested in the United States, having created the hottest country anywhere in the world, and even delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats on the shutdown. Make America great again. Well, let's just get all the rest of the files released. I mean, if there's really all that much more there anyway. I mean, they've already released like 50,000 pages, and I don't know how much we're really going to see. At least they're going to put together a list of names that are connected to Epstein and a list of names that are being investigated related to Jeffrey Epstein. At least that's what I'm most curious about seeing. And this is from Abigail Jackson. Why was Hakeem Jeffries soliciting money and dinner from Epstein after he was a convicted sex offender? By the way, Abigail Jackson is the White House Deputy Press Secretary. And we'll take a look at this. So here, starting here at the bottom. New York One, Hakeem Jeffries positions himself for a long career in Washington by Michael Scotto, April 29th, 2013. Hakeem Jeffries is only about 4 months into his freshman year in Congress, but he's already positioning himself for a long career in Washington. New York One's Michael Scotto filed the following report. If you're looking to knock Hakeem Jeffries off message, you won't get very far. There's a hip-hop song, Every Day I'm Hustling, and I kind of feel that way down here in Washington, Jeffries said, in a positive manner, of course. And this message here from Lisa Rossi, subject Rising Star, and apparently this is the message from, I believe it's from Hakeem Jeffries' campaign, reaching out to Jeffrey Epstein, asking for a dinner, sit down, something like that. But it redacted for some reason, but it says to Jeffrey. So, I mean, I guess that's all we have to go on. And again, from Lisa Rossi. Dear Jeffrey, oh, by the way, May 7th, 2013, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. We are thrilled to announce that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack, or Timu Obama. He is a staunch supporter of President Obama and a progressive voice for the people of New York City. New York One did a profile piece about his work on the vitally important budget and judiciary committees in Washington. Let's see. So Hakeem is committed to electing a Democratic majority in 2014 and is encouraging his friends to participate in the DCCC/DSCC fundraising dinner with President Obama this coming Monday night. Shoot us an email or give us a call at phone number if you would like to get involved with the dinner or would like to get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. He is an impressive guy who will be a progressive voice in New York politics for years to come. Thanks, Darren Rigger, Lisa Rossi, and Walter Sweat, Dynamic SRG. So it almost sounds like that Hakeem Jeffries is looking to get Jeffrey Epstein's blessing because he's an up-and-comer. He's only been in Congress for 4 months. He's a freshman. He wants to get Jeffrey Epstein's blessing, I guess. So, Abigail Jackson was replying to Hakeem Jeffries with that email, and Hakeem said, the House will vote today to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. This is not a hoax. Okay, so from Steve Guest, flashback. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution of a minor. In 2013, Democratic Rep. Hakeem Jeffries solicited funds from sex pest Jeffrey Epstein. Yikes. And the top House Democrat Jeffries solicited campaign funds from Epstein. This is on the Washington Times, published today. The latest batch of Epstein files published by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee includes a solicitation for money from a firm representing House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. In a 2013 email, a representative of the New York Democrats sought to arrange a meeting between Mr. Jeffries and Jeffrey Epstein, the wealthy financier who was by then a convicted sex offender. The firm, Dynamic SRG, asked Epstein to attend a Democratic fundraising dinner with President Barack Obama. Mr. Epstein was convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor and by 2013 was facing lawsuits from women who said they were victimized by him beginning when they were younger than 18. A representative from Mr. Jeffries did not immediately return a request for a comment about the email and his relationship with Epstein. Yeah, they probably never will. Mr. Jeffries was elected to the House in 2012 and rose quickly in the leadership ranks. He became the minority leader in 2023. Susan Ferrecchio can be reached, so on and so forth. So, yeah, maybe he did get Jeffrey Epstein's blessing. Maybe they did have a dinner. Maybe that's why Hakeem Jeffries is a rising star, or he was at the time. Senator Mike Rounds, I am pleased to see Secretary McMahon and President Trump moving forward with a plan to dismantle the Department of Education. This approach aligns with my legislation, Returning Education to the States Act, which places critical decision-making authority in the hands of parents and state and local leaders. This is an excellent first step, and I look forward to working with President Trump and Secretary McMahon to pass my legislation and finish the job. And this is on the Washington Post, actually. Can't remember if they paywall or not. Do they paywall? I don't even know if I've even been on the Washington Post anytime recently. All right, Trump administration announces dismantling of parts of education department. Looks like they want me to, but let me see if they're going to let me read it. Looks like they might. Yeah, looks like it might be good. Okay, so the Education Department said Tuesday it will move several of its offices to other federal departments, a unilateral effort aimed at dismantling an agency created by Congress to ensure equal access to educational opportunity, but long derided by conservatives as ineffective. I mean, couldn't they just simply pass a bill into law that says that every child must get a thorough education? Why do they have to establish an entire department and spend billions of dollars a year? I don't know, it's ridiculous. Anyway, the department has signed interagency agreements to outsource 6 offices to other agencies, including those that administer $28 billion in grants to K-12 schools and $3.1 billion for programs that help students finish college. There was considerable speculation that the $15 billion program to support students with disabilities would be included in the announcement, but it was not. Other major functions of the Education Department, including its Office for Civil Rights and the Federal Student Aid Program, were not affected by Tuesday's changes, but a senior department official told reporters that officials are still exploring options for moving those programs elsewhere in the government. President Donald Trump campaigned on a promise to shut down the agency created in 1979, and in March, he signed an executive order seeking its elimination. He asked Education Secretary Lyndon McMahon to work with Congress to do so, but lawmakers have not acted or seriously considered Trump's request, which is kind of wild because the Republicans, they control the House and they've got a majority in the Senate, so they might not be able to get anything passed in the Senate with regard to dismantling the Education Department, but they certainly could at least try to do so in the House with the majority they have. This is at least in part because to clear the Senate, any legislation would require Democratic support, which appears highly unlikely, of course. McMahon and her backers advocate a shakeup of the federal education role, saying that falling test scores show the agency is not delivering and arguing that Americans are tired of government bureaucracy. Yeah. Supporters of the Education Department counter that administering education programs under one roof helps coordinate policy and better serve schools and students. Yeah, dude, but we've all seen the performance scores. They are tanking. Our quality of education is absolutely in the shitter. What is it, like the proficiency in math at the 9th grade level is like not even 30%. It's like 26%. And I believe that's the national average. It's absolutely abysmal. The agency, they say, helps ensure that priorities important to students, parents, and schools are high on the federal agenda. And they say it's illegal for the Trump administration to break up the department without congressional approval. McMahon has acknowledged that only Congress can eliminate the department, but she has vowed to work to dismantle it from within. She has said the agency's functions can easily be carried out elsewhere in the government, perhaps more effectively. This fall, she took a first step and moved career and technical education programs, including adult education and family literacy initiatives, to the Labor Department. Quote, the Trump administration has taken bold action to break up the federal education bureaucracy and return education to the states, McMahon said in a statement Tuesday. Cutting through layers of red tape in Washington is one essential piece of our final mission. Shifting offices to other parts of the government will not by itself remove red tape or alter the power that Washington exerts over states and school districts. States and school boards already control most education decisions, but the Education Department enforces rules that are embedded in federal programs, such as requirements for grant funding. Asked how moving offices to other departments will return education to the states, the senior official said states will have to work with fewer federal agencies. She argued that education's purpose is to prepare students for the workforce. Quote, nowhere is that better housed than the Department of Labor, she said. Yeah, it makes sense. But most K-12 schools do not typically work with the Labor Department now. The K-12 grant programs that Labor stands to take on address a plethora of subjects not directly related to the workforce, such as support for children in poverty, after-school programs, and aid for rural education. Critics noted that under this agreement, states and school districts will be required to engage with more, not fewer, federal agencies. It is difficult to see how transferring cornerstone programs out of the department will result in streamlined operations, especially for the nation's small, rural, and low-capacity districts, said David R. Schuler, executive director of AASA, the School Superintendents Association. Senator Patty Murray, Democrat of Washington, noted that federal law requires an act of Congress to close the department. She said in a statement that the administration is pretending that the constitutional separation of powers is a mere suggestion. Quote, "This is an outright illegal effort to continue dismantling the Department of Education," Murray said, "and it is students and families who will suffer the consequences as key programs that help students learn to read or that strengthen ties between schools and families are spun off to agencies with little to no relevant expertise." Well, we already know, like I already said, like the students' performance scores over the last couple of decades have just been absolutely going way downhill in one of the worst ways imaginable. Plus, Democrats have the tendency to weaponize the federal Department of Education, as we've seen in recent years. So there's that too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it the Democrats who started the Department of Education? Pretty much any department that would be started by the Democrats that may or may not, probably may not get a lot of Republican support, you got to wonder what their real intentions are. So this is from Secretary Linda McMahon. "The clock is ticking." She shared a video here.
I would like to dissolve the $10 billion National Department of Education created by President Carter.
Amen.
But better education doesn't mean a bigger Department of Education. In fact, that department should be abolished.
I can assure you that teachers don't want to waste their time making their way through a maze of regulations.
No, they don't.
Senator Dole, do you still favor eliminating the Department of Education?
Yes.
Oh, bullshit.
We believe strongly that the best path to education reform is to trust the local people.
The No Child Left Behind Act, right, George W.?
We have to literally erase the board and rethink from the ground up.
There's no authority for the federal government to be involved in education.
My administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, they all say they want to dismantle it, but I think Democrats just want to exert power by using the Federal Department of Education as their weapon to do so. And this is from the U.S. Department of Education. And it says, news, the Department of Education today announced 6 new partnerships to break up the federal education bureaucracy. Today, we will refocus education on students, families, and school. And this is from the Department of State 6 hours ago. A new State Department, U.S. Department of Education partnership to help dismantle the federal education bureaucracy will reduce redundancies to further the president's historic mandate. And you can learn more here, which I will link, and you can have a look for yourself. It's going to be at state.gov. And from Rapid Response 47 from the Education Secretary, quote, "The announcement really follows the plan that the president has had since day one, and that is returning education to the states. He fully believes, as do I, that the best education is that's closest to the child and not run from a bureaucracy in Washington, D.C.
And the announcement really follows the plan that President Trump has had since day one, and that is returning education to the states. He fully believes
like
that
all the presidents
best
have.
education is that's closest to the child and not run from a bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. So the announcement that we made this afternoon was what we are doing to take certain programs that are now part of the Department of Education and what we call signing interagency agreements, and that is that we...
Well, look, yeah, you do need to have an act of Congress in order to completely dissolve it, but I'm sure that they have plenty of power and authority to effectively just wipe out 99%, turn it into an empty shell, effectively, which sounds like that's what they're doing.
Agencies. It's kind of a bit of a test run. Mm-hmm. We want to move on a temporary basis some of those programs to different agencies. The funding still comes from the Department of Education. The management of those programs, the oversight of those programs is still at the department.
Oh, wow. Hold on here. Let me get rid of this bar here. So down below, Gallup, record low, 35% in the United States are satisfied with the quality of education. Yeah, it makes sense.
At the department, but
73% say K through 12 schools are going in the wrong direction, and they very much are. And I think a lot of people would be way more satisfied if they didn't have Washington, D.C. overseeing the entire education system across the country. And I mean, I think most people are in agreement that education, it varies in different regions of the country. I mean, getting an education in Los Angeles shouldn't be in any way close or exactly the same as like Pittsburgh or in Lafayette, Indiana or some shit, or like small town America. I mean, they're completely different places, And yeah, like everybody's going to learn the same basic, framework of history, American history, and the functions of government, things like that. Mathematics. I mean, you're not going to get a wildly different form of education with regard to like algebra. I mean, everybody's going to get pretty much the same education with regard to, like logics and the education system. Same with like the sciences and things like that.
We want to see if what we think to be true is that they will function much more in a streamlined fashion and much more efficiently if we relocate those programs into other agencies. And so if we do that, I call it the proof of concept. Well, we'll move it, we'll see how it works.
They turn us into a bunch of
we
commie
will
bastards. That's what
deliver
they
then
want.
to Congress the outcomes, and we then hope that Congress will then vote to codify the permanent move of those independent programs to those agencies, and eventually that will be all the programs that the Department of Education has oversight over, and then we'll be ready to get rid of that bureaucracy and fully return things to the states where I do believe it belongs.
Well, it's good, man. I hope that works, and I hope it takes hold and it runs for a couple of years, and hopefully it's proven to run very efficiently to the point where they actually do act and they get rid of the Department of Education. I mean, school is already like a communism type of system already. I mean, like you learn what they tell you to learn. You show up when we tell you to show up. You get in trouble if you don't. You go to the bathroom when we tell you to go. You got to stand in line everywhere you go. All right. Anyway, so Secretary Linda McMahon just announced the U.S. Department of Education is partnering with 4 agencies to break up the federal education bureaucracy. I think I already read that. Okay, so Governor Kim Reynolds. Thank you, Education Secretary McMahon. This is a great step toward eliminating the federal education bureaucracy and ensuring greater efficiency in delivering services to schools. States know best how to serve their students, and this approach empowers us to do exactly that. It's time to refocus our education system on the reason it exists, the students. All right, moving on to the next thing from the New York Post. The Toyota CEO goes full-on MAGA at a NASCAR event as carmaker unveils a $912 million investment in U.S. manufacturing. Look at this dude. Wearing a Make America Great Again hat. Looks like J.D. Vance and Trump on his shirt. That's hilarious. So yeah, I believe the NASCAR event was in Japan. Yeah, it was. So Toyota on Tuesday unveiled a $912 million investment in U.S. manufacturing days after CEO Akio Toyoda hosted a red, white, and blue NASCAR event in Japan while sporting a Trump Vance shirt and a red MAGA hat. The Sunday spectacle at Toyota's Fuji Speedway featured top drivers, a crowd waving American flags, and an appearance from U.S. Ambassador to Japan, George Glass, according to Automotive News. The top Toyota executive nodded to recent U.S.-Japan trade tensions during his bold display of pro-Trump sentiment. Quote, "I'm not here to argue whether tariffs are good or bad. Every national leader wants to protect their own industry," Toyota said ahead of the endurance race. "We are exploring ways to make tariffs a winner for everyone. The people we want most to be winners are our customers." And Japan is facing a roughly 15% baseline tariff on auto imports, slashed down from 27.5% as part of the trade agreement in September. "Start your engines," Glass's account tweeted on Sunday, along pics of him and Toyota, who's the grandson of Toyota Motors founder Kiichiro Toyota. "Looking forward to celebrating the culture of U.S. motorsports again next year as part of America's 250th anniversary festivities in Japan," he added. Toyota is the second largest seller of new vehicles in the U.S. behind General Motors on Tuesday. They announced its nearly $1 billion investment, which will ramp up hybrid vehicle production across the southern U.S. It's part of a previously announced plan by Japanese automaker to invest up to $10 billion in the U.S. by 2030, which President Trump revealed last month. Most of the investments are expected to be completed by 2027. And Toyota leads hybrid vehicle production with more than 51% market share through the third quarter of this year, according to Motor Intelligence data. Looks like they want to increase manufacturing of hybrid-compatible engines and vehicles at certain American facilities. So anyway, I'll leave that linked below if you want to check the rest of that out. And yeah, I think Toyota made a really, really good move by not going full-on EV like everybody else did, because the EV customers, they've spoken, they've run they've asked everybody, well, not literally everybody, but they've done polling, they've done surveys of first-time EV drivers, and the majority of people who bought an EV said that they will not be buying an EV as their second vehicle. And the number one reason they gave is range anxiety. Like, they don't want to deal with the range. Plus, there's a lot of people, they live in apartments. It's not like they could just install a charger inside their garage, for example. So, all right. But anyway, so this is from Nicki Minaj with a bunch of emojis with the American flag and the Nigeria flag, heart and praying. So, and she's replying to the White House. I would like to thank the president for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage and calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria. So this is Nicki Minaj.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
Well, good for her. Hopefully more celebrities will step out and show their support as well. And this is Ambassador Mike Waltz, who is the ambassador to the UN. Thank you, Nicki Minaj, for joining me at the U.S. mission today. You are a powerful voice for the voiceless. The violence against Christians in Nigeria is a crisis we cannot ignore. The U.S. is committed to concrete steps to stop the killing and hold perpetrators accountable. We will not look away. And it's just an image of Nicki Minaj, who I think she's got like 20 million followers on X, doesn't she? 27.1. Holy shit. All right. So Ambassador Mike Waltz, one more. Grateful to Nicki Minaj for standing with me today at the UN against the persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Ambassador Mike Waltz here.
The quality is atrocious.
Amazing Queen of Rap, Nicki Minaj, and I just can't be more thankful to you for putting your spotlight on the persecution, the killing, the devastation that's going on with Christians in Nigeria. The president called it out. Nicki, you've called it out, and then we invited you here to the UN to learn more and to see what we can do to stop this genocide.
Yes, you did, and I am, like I said before many times, I'm honored that you even thought that I would be worthy to be in this caliber of a place.
Well, you are a pop star.
Because, you know, I never thought I would go from rapping
Got
to
a lot of weight behind your name.
But I'm so happy and proud, and I'm happy that I can speak for Christians, and I will continue to speak for anyone that I feel needs my voice if they are being persecuted. And right now, I'm just wanting to let all of my Nigerian barbs, even if they live in the U.S., I want to let you guys know I love you, and thank you for your stories that made me understand more what was going on. And I will continue lending my voice. I hope to see more of you guys lending your voices to it. Let's do the right thing like we've always done. And Ambassador, again, thank you so much. And to, again, President Trump and his entire administration. And to Alex, I just want to thank you guys for being amazing to me and supporting me and helping me, you know, to understand what's going on.
Well, it's about
Nigeria.
Nigeria. It's about the Christians.
I love to learn. And yeah, that's it.
Well, as President Trump has said, this is not about politics. This is about doing what is right. This is a moral duty. And you have given your voice to the voiceless, and God bless you for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. So, I mean, I wouldn't exactly, if you're not familiar with Nicki Minaj, I wouldn't exactly recommend watching her music videos and so forth. But just be glad she's using her voice to bring the awareness. Okay, so moving on to U.S. DOT Rapid Response Secretary Sean Duffy with the Department of Transportation. Quote, I'm looking forward to a positive, record-breaking Thanksgiving travel season, end quote. Thank God that they got the government reopened, because that would have been a hellish nightmare.
We're back to where we were before the shutdown, so it's not perfect. We're still 2,000 air traffic controllers short, but we are back to where we were before the shutdown. And again, we have disruptions throughout the airspace. We manage that. But about 4 staffing triggers a day, not 81 a day like we saw during the shutdown. So we're in a good place, and I'm looking forward to a positive, record-breaking Thanksgiving travel season.
Well, very good. Hopefully they got all of their money, their retro pay, because last I heard they were issuing 70% of their retro pay with the rest of it to follow. So, I mean, it would be a well-needed morale boost for air traffic control if they get their full pay before Thanksgiving comes in. So Secretary Rollins says, oh, by the way, Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, she says the Democrat shutdown, quote, has given us a platform to completely deconstruct the SNAP program and make sure those vulnerable Americans who really need that program are going to get it. and they'll protect the taxpayers as well.
Hey, I have a handy dandy chart. I was getting to the affordability piece of SNAP. Almost 40% increase under Joe Biden of what was spent in the people that entered the food stamp/SNAP program. That's 40%. Of course, they were working to buy the election. But what we have seen and what Doge and our amazing team at USDA, 186,000 dead people are receiving SNAP benefits.
Yeah, listen to that. And look, she's a government official, for crying out loud. She's the Secretary of Agriculture. So, and I'm pretty sure the Department of Agriculture, they oversee food stamps. They oversee the federal SNAP benefits program. Over 100,000 people who are dead are getting food stamps, for crying out loud. Plus the 40% increase is absolutely insane, which it just so happens millions, actually tens of millions of illegal immigrants were flooding across the border during the Biden administration, the exact same time that there was a 40% increase in SNAP benefits. It wasn't like 40% of the workforce fell into poverty during the Biden administration. I know a lot of people did. A lot of people lost their jobs and you know, it was a bad time, but it doesn't justify or make sense that 40% increase was needed for the SNAP benefits program. It's insane.
500,000 people are getting paid twice. We've made hundreds of arrests. We have a lot.
Wait a minute. How many million?
But this twice. We've made hundreds of arrests. We have a lot. 500,000 people are getting paid twice. Hundreds of arrests. We have a lot more to do. But this was, I think, an unintended consequence of the Democrats shutting the government down for 43 days. Is it shined this very bright light on one of their pet programs, and now has given us a platform to completely deconstruct the program, make sure those vulnerable Americans who really need that benefit are going to get it, and for all the rest of the fraudsters and the people who are corrupt and taking advantage of it, we're going to protect the taxpayer too.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, 42 million people are on the SNAP program. Do you really think 42 million people actually, like, for real, really actually need it? I'm not saying that nobody needs it. I know there's a lot of people, especially seniors, people that have legitimate disabilities, especially. And yes, there are areas where it's almost impossible to find a good paying job, especially in certain large cities where, you know, you got to work anywhere you can find work. And there's a ton of jobs like in retail and clerical. And there's like a whole bunch of these jobs like where they just simply don't pay that much, fast food work. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there are some instances where there's a high cost of living, but somebody's got to do the job. So I'm not saying that only the disabled and only the elderly should be eligible for it. I'm just saying 42 million sounds like a pretty high number. All right, from the White House, rooting out fraud or waste, fraud, and abuse. From the Daily Wire, rooting out fraud, Trump administration to make food stamp recipients reapply for benefits. Did they link the article to the Daily Wire? They did. And we've got that right here. Okay, so, oh yeah, that's right. They paywall. Damn it. So anyway, we'll just get the beginning part of it. So the Trump administration is preparing to implement a sweeping and controversial overhaul of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as food stamps, an action officials describe as part of a broader effort to increase program integrity and eliminate what they characterize as widespread abuse. At the center of this initiative is a major requirement announced by Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Millions of low-income Americans will be required to reapply for food stamp benefits regardless of whether they've already enrolled or have been long-term recipients or have recently completed eligibility reviews at the state level. So let me just do one quick thing here and see if I can bring up the rest of this. I can't remember if this works for Daily Wire. I think it actually does. Could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. I think we got it. I think we're going to be good here. Okay. So Rollins outlined the plan during an interview on Newsmax, framing it as a necessary step to restore confidence in how federal taxpayer dollars are used. She said she plans to, quote, have everyone reapply for their benefits, make sure that everyone that's taken a taxpayer-funded benefit through food stamps, that they literally are vulnerable and they can't survive without it, end quote. Rollins has recalled that on the day she took office, she sent a letter to all 50 states saying that the federal government had never asked for the data before, but that it now needed the personal data, including names, dates of birth, social security numbers, and addresses of SNAP recipients. She said on X that she sent the letter, quote, so we could make sure illegal immigrants aren't getting benefits meant for American families, end quote. Adding, quote, the Democratic Party has turned its back on working Americans and built its entire strategy around protecting illegal aliens. Yeah, I would say in large part that is true. They know if the handouts stop, those illegals will go back home and Democrats will lose 20 plus seats after the next census. Yeah, I bet that's true. But yeah, also trying to make sure that people who, actually, it's as far as her saying that people that are actually vulnerable and they literally can't survive without it, that doesn't include people that's got, credit card bills to pay, or they've got a bunch of subscriptions they have to pay, or they've got an $800 car payment that they have to pay. No, you don't get food stamps if you got all these like high bills and all that shit. Like for people who legitimately actually need it, they cannot live without it. So anyway, quote, 29 states, mostly the red states, responded with their data sets, February, March, and April. So the numbers that you're talking through, those are numbers that we have been collecting and analyzing since early summer, late spring, she said. The fact that this spotlight shined on Snap has allowed us to talk about it. But here's the most unbelievable news I have learned, really just over the last few days, that 5,000 dead people, that was just 1 month. The number is closer to 186,000 deceased men and women and children in this country are receiving a check. The administration argues that this mass reapplication process is essential to combating what it calls systemic fraud and error in SNAP. So I guess arguably up to 186,000 people should be getting criminally indicted for what, like fraud or theft or who knows what. By reprocessing the entire recipient population, officials say they hope to remove ineligible participants, strengthen data accuracy, and reduce government spending. By placing the mandatory reapplication requirement at the center of the reforms, the administration seeks to redefine SNAP as a program reserved only for those who can clearly demonstrate acute need, reflecting a broader shift towards stricter eligibility enforcement. Amen. I am so glad they're doing this. And look, the public at large, they're going to be really glad that this is going to get rolled out also because, the majority of Americans, they don't want their tax money wasted, and they don't want it going to people who don't deserve to have it. It's only supposed to go to those who desperately need it. So, okay. Oh, yeah. I saw this earlier. I like this idea. I love American news. They left this meme for this post. Let's give EBT recipients MREs. That would be meals ready to eat. If it's good enough for the troops, it's good enough for them. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Which I'm sure for the military, they're dirt cheap. But if you buy one of these things on eBay, they're kind of expensive. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, man. Just give them MREs. A bunch of MREs. It's hilarious. Okay. Oh, Caroline Levitt. All SNAP recipients required to reapply as Trump administration cracks down on fraud. So it's on foxbusiness.com. It's a different source, different link. So that'll be in the description. We already got it from the last one. And from Katie Britt, President Trump and Senate Republicans want American families to keep more of their hard-earned money, and we want to drive American wages up. So we're moving on past the SNAP benefits at this point. By the way,
the president has floated this idea of sending Americans direct payments of $2,000 checks or more.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that at all.
Do you think that would pass muster with Congress?
I doubt it. Not under Trump.
Look, I sure hope so.
It would under Democrats.
Hope we take a look at these types of things and how we can make sure that the American people have more of their hard-earned money back in their pocket. And if you think about what President Trump has been doing overall, he wants to make sure that we onshore more jobs, that we drive up American wages. And the results of these negotiations are more money in Americans' pockets. That's what this has been about all along. Leveling the playing field, because President Trump knows that you can put Americans against anyone else in the world, and if we are on a level playing field, we will always win. And so being able to show the results to the American people, allowing them to keep more of their hard-earned money, I certainly hope that that's something that Congress takes a look at, and definitely I think that it would be something that the American people would receive well.
Look, the $2,000 obviously isn't going to be printed from nothing like it did during COVID, so it's going to be money that was originally labored over to be created in the first place. But the issue, at least in my opinion, is that if you give everybody $2,000 checks and they go spend money like crazy willy-nilly, it's going to create, in some areas, not all areas, but in some areas, it might create certain supply shortages, or it may incentivize the businesses to start charging more for certain products because there's a shorter supply of said product, and that could just drive up the cost of certain things. Not dramatically, but it might at least slightly. But I think just lowering the taxes in general would be better than just instantly dropping $2,000 checks into the laps of everybody. Plus that money, put it into the principle of the debt. I think that's what they really should be doing with it. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that would argue against that. No, hell no, dude. Like that money should go to us. It should go directly to us because we're the American people and we pay taxes already. So why not give it to everybody? So I don't know. I get both sides of it. So, Rep. Brett Guthrie, Republicans are taking the affordability crisis head on. Later this week, the House GOP will consider 2 House Commerce bills that support unleashing American energy production and lower prices for hardworking families.
We're seeing a pent-up demand for energy. We're seeing it because of the growth in our industry, the reindustrialization that's coming because of President Trump, and also the growth of AI and data centers that are coming. And so what's important, we have to address this for the cost of the American people. If you think about it, if you have flat generation and increase in demand, what's going to happen? We have to expand access to American energy. We have it. It's in abundance. We can produce it, and we have to deliver it, and we have to make it where people can use it.
But I've said it over and over again in past episodes, small modular nuclear reactors. There's several companies around the country that are building these manufacturing facilities with the intention in the coming few years, they're going to start mass producing these small modular nuclear reactors, which can be placed on sites of factories, manufacturing facilities, and eventually it looks like they're going to roll those modular reactors out to the residential sector. And each one of these small modular nuclear reactors can power hundreds of thousands of homes per. And these factories, they're talking about churning out hundreds of them on an annual basis. So that would absolutely revolutionize the industry, or the energy industry. And it's gotten to the point where when Trump was at the UK a few months ago, he actually struck a deal with the UK to where they're going to be purchasing small modular nuclear reactors from American companies because it's just that promising. They're already investing in them. So very, very good news. I think it's going to be absolutely massive. Google, I believe that they've already pledged X amount of millions of dollars because they've already secured the purchase of some of them. I think the first ones that roll off the quote unquote assembly line are going to be going to Google. And there was another one. I don't know if it was Microsoft. I can't remember the other one, but another major company, they're going to be using it for either manufacturing or for AI or for both. So I think that's going to be absolutely incredible. If it does like what they're expecting it to do. I mean, the technology is already there. They're just trying to roll out manufacturing to get those things produced. All right, rapid response 47 from the president. While Democrats wanted to give Americans the largest tax hike in history in July, I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history and signed the one big beautiful bill into law. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. That is a big deal. And I've pushed back on this like several times. They had to increase the national deficit, to my understanding, in order to give us the tax breaks because they didn't downsize the government enough in order to provide the tax breaks. But regardless, I mean, less taxes makes people happy, makes people, have a little bit more motivation to vote Republican and not Democrat. So
while
I guess it's not a complete
lose-lose.
lose-lose.
Americans the largest tax hike in history in July, I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history and signed the one big beautiful bill. I call it the great big beautiful bill into law. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. That is a big deal.
Yeah, you definitely can't forget that. He did make that happen, which is incredible. He didn't have to do anything with the deficit to make that happen. That was just a very simple policy. No tax on tips. It's very good. FBI Director Kash Patel, a full update with Maria Bartiromo, I can't ever say her last name, on China's fentanyl commitments, our ongoing investigations, and the steps we're taking to keep Americans safe. Under President Trump's leadership, we're delivering results that protect the American people.
Welcome back. We just heard from Treasury
It's
Secretary.
a bit of a long one. It's like 7 minutes long. I don't know if I'll get all the way through it, but at the very least, I'll repost it if you want to see it, if I end up moving on, but we'll see where it goes.
Scott Bessent moments ago on China's broken promises following the summit between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping on October 30th. The secretary told us he is expecting China to keep its promises. Now, China claims it will aggressively crack down on the chemicals that are used to produce fentanyl, which is the current leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45. Joining me now, just back from his trip to Beijing, is the director of the FBI.
They want America to go down in flames.
Director, thanks very much for being here. You went to China for 1 or 2 days. Tell us what you accomplished.
Hey, Maria, it's great to be with you. And look, we set this in motion, under President Trump's leadership and strong leadership in engaging in President Xi Jinping on the fentanyl crisis. Let's just put this in perspective. The prior administration,
China already pledged to do this years ago.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans to be killed by opioids alone. That is a national
I'll believe it when I see it,
crisis
China.
of epic proportions that was left undressed. President Trump comes in, engages his counterpart, President Xi Jinping, and says, we got to address this, puts Attorney General Pam Bondi in the DOJ in motion, sets up engagements over the last 8 to 9 months, and designates the FBI director to go there and make sure this deal is solidified. And that is the reason that I, as the first director in 10 years, landed in Beijing, China. This opioid crisis is going to be turned off. Americans are no longer going to lose their life to manufactured synthesis opioids like fentanyl.
Well, I mean, look, you knew the China threat very early on, way before you were the director of the FBI. Mm-hmm. Where else is China interfering? What do we need to understand best about our number one adversary?
Well, look, we could talk about the espionage and other activities, but we have taken a huge
600,000 Chinese students per year.
No one has bothered to engage China. The Biden administration didn't even do it. And fentanyl, for those, it's not like cocaine or marijuana where it starts naturally in a grow house or a grow facility or grow yards and then is produced into an ultimate chemical and drug. Fentanyl is purely chemically created. And if you take the ingredients, these precursors that we're talking about, these chemicals that we're talking about, and you shut off their flow, then the Mexican drug cartels cannot make it. It's that simple. And Biden could have listed 1 or 2 or 3 of the precursors. 0. Trump got it done, listing all 13 precursors and restricting all 7 chemicals, essentially shutting off the pipeline that allows the Mexican drug traffickers to create fentanyl. And we went there and we got the agreement solidified, and it's already in place. And we're going to see immediate results and immediate American lives saved by the hundreds of thousands, thanks to President Trump's brilliant leadership and Attorney General Bondi's care and commitment to this issue.
Yeah, so Democrats, they want the instability.
That the Chinese will keep their commitment here, and you think we will see...
Now, don't forget, in blue states, Democrats, they've legalized all substances. Or was it in Oregon? Definitely in Oregon, and I think in Washington, too. They decriminalized all drugs, all of them. So people were just openly shooting up in public parks in front of children, and nobody would do anything about it. I believe that still happens to this day in Portland.
Immediate impact, then.
The Democrats don't care.
We've already seen an immediate impact. And look, Maria, I don't think anyone has covered China better than you have. And I understand the skepticism. But I do also believe in President Trump's leadership to say, look, we have to engage with them and come to agreements where we can with them, especially if it saves American lives. Why wouldn't we? We're not going to get to 100% on 100%. But if we can save tens of thousands of American lives, then it was worth it. And I think we're already seeing those results. And at least on the fentanyl front, they have committed to this. They've kept their word on this. And we are saving American lives because of this once-in-a-lifetime historic engagement by President Trump with the Chinese.
Very, very important meeting that you had. Thank you. We'll be watching that. I want to move on to a few other issues before you go. And, of course, we always talk about the last 10 years of conspiracy against President Trump. And it started with the Russia collusion, on to the indictments and the impeachments. And, of course, January 6th. Do you have any news for us on January 6th in your investigation?
I think you'll see something on that front very soon. As you know, we can't reveal our ongoing investigations.
Very soon,
goes for things like Russiagate. Maria, again, maybe no one better than you has covered it. And look, I lived it. I was weaponized as a victim against a weaponization, politicization of law enforcement, including at the FBI, by former senior leadership there. And I was the one that ran and uncovered the Russiagate hoax and conspiracy back on my House Intel days. I can't talk about ongoing investigations, but I think you've seen reporting in the media and reflections as to what's going on. We will not allow anyone who participated in the Russiagate conspiracy or those who improperly and illegally, in my opinion, spied on me, members of Congress, and even members of the media for a political end state to be left unturned. These are investigations that are of important consequence to the American public. Deputy Director Bongino and I have lived through it with you and everyone else. And we don't ask you to trust us, but look at the work we've put in under President Trump's leadership. We are going after every single person, from drug traffickers to those who create precursors, to those, most importantly, who weaponize our system of law enforcement. You've already seen indictments of people like former Director James Comey and others. And
we'll see where that goes, though.
Well, by the way, Comey is asking for all of the charges to be dropped
right
now, as you know. So the audience wants to know if we're ever going to see accountability, Director. And I know that there's a limited amount
James
you can
Comey,
say about
dude, that's
this
one.
With regard to what
Where's all the
next. There was a criminal referral for John Brennan. Do you believe we will see accountability?
Yes, 100%. We are delivering this accountability. But I'd just like to remind the audience, and I think you know this better than anyone, they built this weaponization scheme over the course of a decade plus. In these first 8 months that we've been there, we've already charged individuals, thanks to this great Department of Justice, who are at the pinnacle
goes all the way back
of this
to
weaponization
freaking 9/11.
of government. We've already turned over, by the way, Maria. James Comey turned over 3,000 documents to Congress for oversight. Crystal Wray turned over 13,000. This FBI, under our leadership, has turned over 38,000 pages of information to Congress for congressional oversight purposes, which is wed to accountability, which is wed to the referrals that they send us back that we activate at the FBI. Every single letter they send us that has a substantive referral is opened by this FBI.
Director, just to clarify, how many Americans were arrested regarding January 6th? I know many people spent jail time as a result of January 6th, and you've been doing a deep dive investigation into this. There's a lot of speculation online. We want to know who planted the pipe bomb. Is there anything you can tell us there?
Yeah.
And how
Big
many
question.
people were arrested on January 6th?
Too many. Far too many. Far too baselessly as a result of a weaponization of justice and a politicization of targeting President Trump's
Come on, dude, don't give us the
supporters.
political answer.
It was
Too
unlawful
many.
and improper, and we've been working like we have with the deputy director to unearth that. And as it relates to major investigations of public importance like the pipe bomber, again, I say, stay tuned. We reviewed every single investigation of public consequence, reopened them, reevaluated them, because we feel it cannot go untouched. We are not going to let these things lay by and allow the fake news media to run roughshod over us. Our indictments speak powerfully in court. If you don't believe us, just look at the response that the Eastern District of Virginia under Lindsey Halligan did to James Comey, and look at the notes and publication of evidence. That's the type of material we have, but we have to safeguard our prosecutions because the ultimate accountability is with the verdict in a jury room.
Understood.
All right. Well, you know, typically when the federal government indicts, they typically have all of the discovery phase out of the way. They've already pieced together everything, so there's no reason that this James Comey business shouldn't be going on, dragging on for years. I mean, they should be just getting on with it. All right. Moving on to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Caroline Levitt, a criminal illegal immigrant who was released into the U.S. under the Biden administration and began working as a commercial truck driver, has been arrested over alleged ties to terrorism. And Bozarov, Akror Bozarov, looks like that's his name. And yeah, so terrorism, lovely. And at least they got him, so we don't have to worry about that, at least not for now. All right, Homeland Security, since January 20th, there have been 99 vehicle attacks against federal law enforcement, more than doubled compared to the 47 attacks faced during the same period last year. Dangerous criminals, whether they be illegal aliens or U.S. citizens, are turning their vehicles into weapons to attack ICE and CBP. This is the direct result of sanctuary politicians' constant demonization of DHS law enforcement. Yeah, well, charge them with assault with a deadly weapon. That'll give them quite a few years in prison.
Twice in the past 3 days, people have used vehicles to try to stop your operations. And we came up with some statistics from DHS that I thought were just stunning. Since January the 20th, against CBP, there have been 71 vehicular attacks, a 58% increase over the same period in 2024. In terms of ICE, 28 vehicular attacks since January 20th. That's a 1,300% increase over 2 in the same period of 2024. It's getting to be a regular occurrence, and it's extremely dangerous.
John and Sandra, it is. It's staggering. But, you know, I think that there's something that the viewers need to know. And those attacks started or almost coincided with Governor Steen's heated rhetoric. It's starting again here in North Carolina, here in Charlotte. His heated rhetoric where he said that we were racists and that we were not conducting our operations in a lawful manner. Very soon after he said that, we started seeing the violence.
Well, of course.
So I put a lot of the blame on our elected
leadership from Democrats
here in North Carolina, especially that governor that says those things that are outright lies.
All their bullshit identity politics. Look, that's what they really should be doing, is just charging them with assault with a deadly weapon against law enforcement officers. I'm sure that'd be like an upgraded felony charge. Like, I mean, just simple assault on an officer, that alone could get you up to 20 years in prison. Not to mention the just obstruction on its own could give you up to 8 years in prison, but they're not really doing much with it. At least not that it seems. I know they're arresting people here and there, but they're not arresting people at the rate that everybody insists or demands that they arrest. Like the The whole group, well, I guess they don't have any images there, but like in front of the ICE facilities, they've got hundreds of quote-unquote protesters, rioters, really, violent protesters that are just blocking the road. That's obstruction. You can get 8 years in prison for that, but they're not arresting any of them. I mean, I guess that they have to some degree because finally the Chicago State or the Illinois State Police started showing up, at least at the Broadview facility, but they're just not arresting enough of them. And if they are, they must be just letting them right out so they can go right back out there and do it all over again. All right, so this comes from CBP. Don't get stuck. U.S. Border Patrol Chief EPT, El Paso Sector Border Patrol, discovered an individual stuck in concertina wire attempting to illegally cross the border. Agents were able to safely cut them out of the razor-sharp wire. They had minor scrapes and were transported to CPC for disposition and processing. It's absolutely hilarious. Just stuck up there with freaking barbed wire. Freaking moron. I'm surprised they were able to scale that. It's pretty wild. And ICE Deputy Director Madison Sheehan. Time and time again, we see illegal aliens who cannot speak English receiving CDLs from states such as California, New York, and Pennsylvania. ICE will continue partnering with states such as Indiana, Oklahoma, and Florida to ensure that American highways remain safe for American families.
Who was vetting illegal aliens getting licenses to drive trucks under Biden and before that? Because a criminal illegal alien from Uzbekistan was arrested. He was driving a truck in Kansas.
It's funny, she could be Scott Presler's sister.
Pennsylvania. He was released
like
into the U.S.
kinda.
under the Biden administration. He was under an active arrest warrant from Uzbekistan for allegedly belonging to a jihadi terror group and for recruiting jihadi terrorists and distributing jihadi terror propaganda.
Well, I hope they rounded all them up, too.
Should accused terrorists be driving 18-wheelers on U.S. highways? Who's doing the vetting here?
This should have never happened in the first place, but states like Pennsylvania, New York, California, time and time again have issued CDL driver's license to people who should have never had them in the first place, people that can't speak English.
17,000 in California alone.
On roads where our families are at, and the men and women of ICE are going after them, and a lot of times in partnership with states who want to combat this. States like Indiana, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, who we have fantastic partnerships with, that we're actually able to stop these people on our highways driving these semi-trucks with. We don't know what's in these trucks. We don't know what they're loading in them. And we know that they're dangerous drivers. One American hurt is one too many. And that's what we've seen with these CDLs have been given out nationwide.
Well, yeah, they can't even read simple road signs because they can't read English. They can't speak English. They just wing it. CBP Buffalo, 30 illegal aliens who were operating commercial vehicles on the west portion of the NYS Thruway, I-90, and possessed valid state-issued commercial driver's licenses were arrested during a Border Patrol operation that went from 8 to 11 of November 8th through 11th. Learn more, and we've got a link with CBP, and there's the image. There's all of them. Of course, they redacted them, their identities, and they've all been arrested. So okay, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Oh shit, where did it go? Now I gotta do it again. Okay, there it was. Way over here. All right, from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. U.S. Border Patrol operation nets 37 illegal aliens arrested along Interstate 90 in western New York. U.S. Border Patrol agents removed illegal aliens operating commercial vehicles with state-issued commercial driver's licenses operating on Interstate 90 in the vicinity of western New York. From November 8th through 11th, Border Patrol agents assigned to the Buffalo station, assisted by ICE Homeland Security investigations and enforcement and removal operations, conducted immigration inspections in more than 10 locations along the western portion of the Thruway. Agents discovered that 30 illegal aliens possessed valid CDLs from the states of California, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. An additional 7 illegal aliens were also arrested who were not in operation of any commercial vehicles. All 37 males were arrested, processed, and turned over to the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement for deportation proceedings. And it goes on a little bit. They got a couple of quotes, but we'll just go ahead and move on to the next topic from Senate Republicans. More than a third of the money spent on Biden's COVID bonuses directly benefit insurance companies, not those enrolled on Obamacare plans. Republicans want to lower costs, not give taxpayer-funded handouts to insurance executives. And from the White House, investment in AI is helping to make the U.S. economy the hottest in the world. Actually, I'll just read it straight from President Trump's Truth Social. But overregulation by the states is threatening to undermine this growth engine. Some states are even trying to embed DEI ideology into AI models, producing woke AI. Yeah, I would say Google is definitely doing that with Google's AI. It's definitely quite left-leaning for the most part. And yeah, I'm sure that they're doing that, especially if they're like based in Silicon Valley and they're developing AI bots. I mean, there's almost no doubt that that's exactly what they're doing. Remember Black George Washington? We must have one federal standard instead of a patchwork of 50 state regulatory regimes. We can do this in a way that protects children and prevents censorship. Yeah, not too crazy about giving the federal government just that much more power, but I do understand the good intentions of that. And U.S. Department of the Interior. Interior generates over $10 billion annually from energy and mineral development on public lands and waters, making it one of the largest sources of non-tax revenue for the U.S. government. A significant portion goes directly to the U.S. Treasury, with the rest benefiting states and tribes and conservation efforts. From oil and gas to minerals and geothermal energy, these resources fuel our economy. And let me see if there's anything further that they included. Nope, that's that, Jack. U.S. Department of the Interior. From Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, when the New York Times calls J.D. Vance, quote-unquote, dangerous, what's your reaction? And this is from Glenn Greenwald. Very shortly, you're going to hear this from Democrats in media. Look, I had disagreements with Trump, but he kept the crazies on the fringes. The really dangerous extremist is J.D. Vance. Trump, by comparison, is a responsible patriot. That's the Bush-Cheney trajectory. J.D. Vance is idling at the edges of American politics. And did he link that? No, they didn't link it, but I mean, that's the headline. You can find it on the New York Times. And we'll just roll on to the next. From Attorney General Pamela Bondi, we strongly disagree with today's district court ruling on Texas's redistricting map. Texas's map was drawn the right way for the right reasons. We look forward to Texas victory at the Supreme Court. So yeah, they struck it down, or at least they denied it, the federal court system. Gerrymandering. Yeah, this is wild. Massachusetts, 36% Republicans, 0 seats. Connecticut, 0. Maine, 0. New Mexico, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, Hawaii, Delaware, all 0 seats, but all have a sizable percentage of Republican voters. Not sure if those numbers are actually accurate. There's no sources for this, although I'm sure it's not all that far from it. Yeah, so there you go. And we're going to roll on to the CIA. I really only included this because it's kind of rare that the CIA posts anything, but for some reason they posted this. And I'm assuming that during the government shutdown, they had nobody running the account because they hadn't posted anything, I think, since September up until this one. Artifact of the Week, British Army pocket knife. Learn more at CIA.gov. I have no idea why you'd really want to learn about that. But anyway, British Army pocket knife. And I'm not sure why the CIA is sharing just like something as random as this. But that's basically what they're doing. Anyway, so, when you go to the CIA profile page, they've got that from 12 hours ago. And then from November 11th on this Veterans Day, CIA honors all who served in our armed forces and the sacrifices they made on behalf of the nation. And then before that, it was September 30th, and it was the Artifact of the Week. And then before that, September 26th on this day, and another Artifact of the Week, this POW MIA Day. So it's like a profile where they just like remember certain like military days and holidays and these days in history. They don't really talk about anything really newsworthy, which, I mean, why would they? They're the CIA. Of course they don't. They don't really bring up anything at all, but they do have an official profile. Not that they bring up anything on it. Like, nothing really breaking news-wise. Okay, Joni Ernst. 8,000 service members lost access to GI benefits they earned by serving our nation because of Biden's COVID vaccine mandates. Thank you, Secretary of Veteran Affairs, for working to restore the benefits that these brave men and women deserve. And Joni Ernst, by the way, is the senator for Iowa. And Senate Republicans. The Senate has taken more votes this year than any other year since at least 1989. Despite unprecedented Democrat obstruction, Senate Republicans will continue working to deliver safety and prosperity. And this goes all the way back to, what is that, 2006? I mean, it says 16. Oh, wait, hold on. 95, 21. Wait a minute. Those aren't years. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, so they've got it just in order. Okay, so 1995, and then 2021, and then 2003. Well, where's 1989? I don't see it. Oh, yeah, here's 1989, 312. All right, well, anyway, that's the graphic for you. Okay, Library of Congress. On this day in 1883, precisely at noon, North American Railroad switched to a new standard time system for rail operations, which they called Standard Railway Time, or SRT. Almost immediately, many American cities enacted ordinances, thus resulting in the creation of time zones. And that's just a GIF, or a repeating video, basically, of just a train rolling. And they indicate that this is a thread, so they've got other posts. Prior to adopting SRT, trains traveling east or west had a difficult time maintaining coherent schedules and smooth operations. The new time zones were each an hour wide, simplifying the schedules and virtually everything else in increasingly industrialized America. That is very cool. Pacific, of course, and Mountain, Central, and Eastern. And, oh, that's it. Usually a thread means that there's multiples. Come on, Library of Congress. You don't have any more? You only got 2? All right, whatever. Better than nothing, I guess. From the FAA has returned the National Airspace System to normal operations. We are ready for the busy Thanksgiving holiday, and safety of the traveling public will always come first. And the GOP, low IQ Jasmine Crockett continues to try and deny her violent rhetoric. Her own words tell the truth, which is unhinged, violent, and dangerous.
I disagree with a lot of Republicans, but it does not necessarily turn violent. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard.
But I literally have never said anything to invoke violence.
We are not only going to punch you back, but we are going to knock you out. I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses.
Okay, all right, whatever. I mean, yeah, the rhetoric, I guess, could be taken as violent, although it wasn't directed toward anybody specifically. I mean, she didn't say Republicans directly either, to be honest. But anyway, I get what they're saying. Yeah, and I think we know what she's really talking about. Secretary Kristi Noem, today we marked a major milestone in the race to secure the Arctic against our adversaries. Ice Pact, the historic trilateral partnership between the United States, Canada, and Finland, will power our economies with good jobs, strengthen our collective Arctic defense, and bring us one step closer to rebuilding our icebreaker fleets. Under President Trump, we are finally asserting our Arctic dominance. Yeah, y'all can keep those jobs. I don't want any part of that, man. It's too damn cold. I cannot stand cold weather. All right, so a couple of images that they shared. Secretary Kristi Noem with Homeland Security, and they signed the pact, trilateral pact, to keep our dominance up in the Arctic against Russia, Russian aggression, or the BRICS nations. USGS, the United States Geological Survey, welcomes Dr. Ned Mamula as our 19th director. Dr. Mamula has served across government, industry, and academia with a career focused on energy and mineral research, including roles at USGS and also Department of Energy, the CIA, and most recently as chief geologist at GreenMet. We look forward to his leadership. So he's now the director of U.S. Geological Survey. And the White House FIFA Task Force, our executive director, Andrew Giuliani, joined Secretary Noem, Secretary Rubio, and the president alongside president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and his senior advisor, Carlos Cordiero, at the Oval Office to deliver a powerful message. America is welcoming the world in 2026. This tournament isn't just about soccer. It's about showing the strength, the heart, and the hospitality of the United States.
Andrew, would you like to say something?
Sure. I think
we'll have somebody much more important.
Much more important. And honestly, without her work, without Secretary of State Rubio's work in the State Department, this would not happen. And without your leadership and your vision, this would not have happened. I think 2 key points. One that the Secretary of State already highlighted. This is a welcoming message to the world without going around the safety and security procedures. It's so key to make sure that this World Cup is safe and secure, and the White House Task Force is working every day to make sure that's the case. And also, as Congressman LaHood said, the economic benefits for American businesses, both small and large.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
$30 billion event like
30
this.
billion.
So really, thanks to all the White House task force members, from Secretary Rubio to Secretary Noem.
Where's it primarily?
Funding opportunities
it was like LA, or no, that's the Olympics.
Last month were really key from the safety and security perspective. To Deputy Chief of Staff Luna, who is integral in this whole process, to the White House task force members that are standing in the back of the room today and that couldn't be here. Without your hard work, this would not have happened, and I really can't thank you enough for really the best team I've ever been a part of. And also to FIFA, to the President Gianni Infantino, my good friend Carlos Cordiero, your desire to make this World Cup the best yet, it's contagious. Every single day I come in and think, what can we do to make this even better? And Mr. President, your vision more than anything. I think it takes a unique visionary to be able to go and see a sporting event and realize that this can be one of the greatest cultural events in world history. And I think there are very few people, aside from the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that can do that undertaking. So thank you.
Oh, man, he's got some real high hopes for the FIFA World Cup. Okay, so let me just jump over here to Google real quick, and let me just plug this in, because honestly, I don't know. I don't watch sports. I don't watch any sports, but just figured we'll... Okay, so there's 16 host cities for the 2026 World Cup on MLS Soccer. So they're going to be in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, also at Boston, Gillette Stadium, Dallas, AT&T Stadium, Houston, NRG, Kansas City, GEHA Field at Arrowhead, LA, it's Sophie. Is it Sophie or SoFi? I don't know. Miami, Hard Rock Stadium, New York, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field, San Francisco Bay Area, Levi Stadium, and Seattle at Lumen Field. A brilliant idea that they don't have to build a shitload of stadiums like they do in other countries. And we've already got the infrastructure, so it's definitely a win-win. And it looks like Canada, they get to have a couple. Toronto, BMO Field, and Vancouver at BC Place. In Mexico, Guadalajara, Estadio Akron, Mexico City, Estadio Azteca, and Monterrey, Estadio BBVA. 16 host cities are separated into 3 regions to reduce travel. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Eastern, Central, and Western. And the cities that missed the cut are Edmonton, as well as Baltimore, D.C., and also Cincinnati, Denver, Nashville, Orlando. Well, that sucks. Orlando missed it. And none for Mexico. Sounds like Mexico got everything they wanted. Alrighty. And Senate Republicans, 2020, Graham Plattner posts on Reddit that all white rural Americans actually are racist and stupid. In 2025, he runs for office, he deletes all his posts, and he refuses to condemn his own words. This is from townhall.com. Quote, do you think that rural Mainers are racist? Graham Plattner ignores and shuffles away. Will you drop out now that your campaign staff is all gone?
Graham Plattner, do you still think...
Oh, yeah, this is the dude with the Nazi tattoo. He had like this like skull, some like Nazi, I don't know what type of Nazi tattoo it is, but he had like a big Nazi tattoo on his chest that he got way back in 2007, and he didn't get it removed until mid-October of this year, when everybody was calling him out on it. Like, dude, why are you wearing a Nazi tattoo? Well, I didn't know there was a Nazi tattoo. Yeah, right, dude. What?
That rural Mainers are racist.
Continuous problem.
Will you drop out now that your campaign staff is all gone? Good, how are you? No response, Graham?
Somebody starts asking the hard questions, he bails.
Graham Plattner, do you still think that rural...
I mean, it doesn't really fit the whole the Nazi tattoo thing when he says that rural Mainers are racist and what white people are stupid. So I don't know, man. This dude's all over the fucking place. All right, Pete Heck says, Stage 4 TDS responding to libs of TikTok. Breaking, elected Democrats just released a video encouraging members of the military to commit treason and defy orders from President Trump and Secretary of War. Almost said Secretary of Defense. Pete Heck said,
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
Do they really think everybody in the military is watching this shit?
Our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now,
yeah, not our democracy.
Aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There are no illegal orders coming from Trump.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
Yeah, it's easy for them to say now that they're not serving currently.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
How about you give us an
who
example?
we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Whatever, man. What a nonsense fucking video. Well, it did get 3.2 million views. Well, okay, never mind. It came from Libs of TikTok. Libs of TikTok got 3.2 million views. I'd like to know where the original video is so I could see exactly how much attention that I got. Probably next to none. It's just another, virtue signal to make them feel good about themselves. That we're keeping up the good fight against evil Orange Man. All right, U.S. Southern Command, the U.S. Marine Corps AV-8B Harrier IIs at 22nd MEU conduct a live fire ordnance exercise from the USS Iwo Jima in the Caribbean Sea. U.S. military forces are deployed to the Caribbean in support of Operation Southern Spear, and they tagged U.S. Marines, and then MAR for South U.S. Marine Corps, South U.S. Navy, Secretary of War, and the Department of War. No sound. Oh, yeah, there is. Oh, snap. But did it really do the whistle, though? Like, can anybody confirm that? Does the bomb actually make a whistling noise, or did they just throw that in there? Okay, U.S. Army Pacific, our 25th ID light fighters continue training in challenging jungle terrain as part of the JPMRC 26-01. Operating in small, dispersed teams, they stay mobile and connected across some of the toughest environments soldiers face in the Indo-Pacific Command, and hashtag lethality. Ooh-wee. It's like full on at war already. Getting all that training going, man. Good times. All right. Well, it looks like that's going to do it for me. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, all the politicians, all those bureaucrat agencies, everything else happening in the swamp. I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.